So today we're heading up to the Murray River and we're checking out a garden up there in Wellington. Charged up to 100% and set the trip meter to 0. We're going to be driving a little bit through the Adelaide Hills, and this is probably a typical trip that someone from Adelaide might do, out to the country. Today I'm not going to be charging the car at all. This is a hastily arranged video in order to take advantage of this day trip that we did, using the inbuilt dash cam, which isn't the greatest quality. You can see some of the information that is recorded up at the top with the dash cam. I've got to say, I've noticed recently with the Atto 3 that the emergency lane keep assist has improved dramatically. It no longer aggressively jerks my steering wheel, which I quite often in the past experienced when going around a tight right-hand bend. But on this trip I didn't experience that at all. Our first port of call was to pick up my mum before continuing on to Wellington. So we've done 42 kilometres, and as you can see from the consumption curve there, you've got to read it from the right to the left, because the more recent consumption is to the left. It sort of trends downwards and even goes into the negative where the regen was happening. It started off when we left home, went over the hills, and then there was some downhill bits. I guess this is obvious, but the thing that affects your economy the most is changes in elevation. So for example, if you're going down a really steep hill, the KERS system will regenerate energy back into your battery, increasing your range slightly. The same can't be said of an ICE car. Going downhill, it's still using energy. Even if you're coasting, the engine will still be idling. The only way to not use energy in an ICE car would be if you switched the car off and put it in neutral and rolled it down a hill, which I don't think is legal. The other thing that affects the economy of any vehicle is speed. The faster you're going, the more air resistance your vehicle will experience, and you'll notice that mostly when you're travelling over 80 kilometres an hour, and that will increase even more so over 100, over 110, you'll really reduce your economy a lot. But that goes with both ICE cars and EVs. It is often said that ICE cars are more efficient on highways than they are around the cities, and EVs are more efficient around the city than they are on the highway. While those two statements on their own are true, it's a bit of a bugbear for me, because even EV proponents will say those two statements next to each other, and it almost sounds like you're saying that EVs are less efficient than ICE cars on the highways, which is not true. EVs are still more energy efficient, and there's many reasons for that. One of the big ones is that internal combustion engine will produce more heat from the fuel than it does to actual motion. Another thing to consider is all the transportation and refining that the fuel has to go through before it gets to your car. Opponents do like to point out the extra energy required to produce an EV. However, that energy debt is usually recuperated within the first couple of years of ownership. But that's more a subject for another video. Stopping in Wellington for a nice lunch overlooking the River Murray. Looking at the consumption graph, you can see that the section where we're on the flat country roads is levelled off and averaging around about 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is pretty good, keeping it under 100 kilometres an hour and perhaps a little bit of a tailwind as well. Okay, so we just had lunch at Wellington Hotel, and it was delicious, and there's a nice view there looking out over the river. We've done 127 kilometres and 68% of the battery remaining. Yes, 68. I need to use my glasses because the text on the dash is so tiny. So that means used 32% of the battery for 127. So that's about a third. now just heading over to the other side of the river where we're going to go and see the Pangarinda Botanic Gardens. It's a beautiful place full of native vegetation that has been planted to represent what some of these areas used to look like before agricultural took over. They planted a probably more diverse species. There was a section which was based on vegetation from Western Australia. But yeah, I think if you come out here at various times of the year, you'll see different flowers in bloom. If you ever catch the ferry across the Murray River there, just hop in here. Yeah, very peaceful, tranquil setting. Heading home now along the freeway, travelling west past Tailem Bend and Murray Bridge. There was a bit of a headwind, and also probably climbing in the elevation towards the Adelaide Hills reduced the economy. Getting towards dusk now, you've got to be very careful of kangaroos. You can see those brake lights of the car in front come on. He unfortunately just hit that kangaroo, but it looked okay. He bounded away. Driving past the car, I noticed slight damage to his bumper. While in this area, I wanted to show Charmaine the Chukaloo campsite. We might come and camp here sometime. It's a very popular campsite being so close to Adelaide, and so you need to book well ahead. Maintained by the forestries within Kaipo Forest, but they've kept this area with native gum trees. So we're coming to the end of our trip today, coming back through the Adelaide Hills. At the moment we've done 260 kilometres. We've got about a quarter of the battery left, it says 24%. If we'd left with only 81%, which is what it was showing yesterday, we might get home with 0% remaining, or close to that. Oh, there's another SO3. Oh, another SO3. They're everywhere. So yeah, just for a little bit of peace of mind, just got the charge up to 100% before we left. But mainly I did this just to show, because like Wellington and the river it's a fair drive from Adelaide. It's a decent day out, and I wanted to just see that it could be done without having to visit a fast charger. And I don't think people would be doing too much more than this on a day trip. It's getting pretty dark, so it might be hard to see me now. So I'll get back in touch with you when we're finished and I'm in my garage, and I'll tell you the final results. The last little section of the trip was going downhill and at a reasonably slow speed, so as you can see, the electricity consumption reduced quite a lot. But overall, the trip was 272.4 kilometres in length, and we finished with 21% of the battery remaining. So as the battery was 81% the previous day, I potentially could have made it without having to recharge overnight, but just for that extra peace of mind, it was well worth just topping it up to 100% before we left. I hope this video was helpful. Please like if it was, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. And we're heading up to the Murray River. I'll say that again. And we're
At least spit didn't come out when you did it. Excuse me.